This is your official sector trends. Consulting intervention for smaller businesses can cause a turn around in business practices. This is because smaller businesses are often believed to serve an engine for innovation, employment, and social mobility due to their flexibility in responding to new opportunities, with most employment opportunities in Africa coming from SMEs. Yet, very few small businesses in developing countries grow into larger business. But how best can these businesses tap into services of a consultant? Today, to help us understand how consulting works for MSMEs, we're joined by Judith Mangangi, co-founder Tactive Consulting, and Kamuzu Banda, Chief Operations Officer, Team Sky Media Services. Good morning. Let me start with you, Judith. How are you doing?
Good morning. I am well, thank you. And yourself?
Fantastic. We're happy to have you around. Kamuzu Banda, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning. Very well, thank you. And thanks for having me on the show.
Anytime, man. All right. Let's begin with Judith. Judith, I'll start from this level. Of smaller businesses, in your understanding, because I know you work with them as well, have they understood the importance of consultancy?
That's a very good question. And I'd say from where I sit, they are starting to understand the use or the need for consultants.
Yes.
Because long ago, there was this notion that consultants are these people who come into your business and they tell you how to run your ship. They drop a prescription and then they just leave. But lately, you see a lot more SMEs now adopting consultants as a service because this is what they need to scale. And they're starting now to see the need that consultants are actually filling because you often find that SMEs lack the resources internally to be able to tap into markets, to be able to access capital. And then now when a consultant comes on board and they're able to show this to the SME, then they're able to onboard them. And I think I would say right now I'm seeing, call it even a 40% increase in interest this year as opposed to last year, which is a good sign.
I'm going to come back to you and talk to you about that the need for the interest that has improved this year, and I'm becoming to seek some insight on why you think that this year that interest is jumped. Let me cross over to you, Kamuzu Banda. I mean, the importance of consultancy for the growth of a small business, especially in a demanding environment like Kenya. How do you rate it, sir?
I think let's be very practical about this.
Yes.
If you run a business you're a tailor, you run a business where you do suits and dresses for your clients. We don't expect you to be able to handle your books very well. We don't expect you to be able to know how to pay your taxes very well. It is very important for you to stick to your core business. Your core business being servicing your clients in the clothing sector. So this is where you need a consultant on board to work on your books, to do your accounts. If you ever have to do an expansion to understand the market for you. So consultants, they're the oil that oil the engine for a business. If you're a small business, you cannot do everything. You really do need consultants, and you can't think twice about it. It's very, very important. Successful businesses have grown on the basis of having consultants do the services that is not the core business of that business.
Kamuzu, let me stick with you as well before I cross over to Judith. You're raising a very important aspect there, that for smaller businesses, you have to stick to your core. Well, so someone's going to ask you then, as a smaller business, at what point do I realize that now, indeed, I need a consultant to come in? What is this need? What is this environment that must exist in my business for me to say, it's time for me to talk to Kamuzu to come in?
Well, yes, every business starts and there's always a plan to grow bigger.
Yes.
The moment the moment the time comes for you and you're thinking about expanding, reaching out to more customers, which is what all businesses should do, it is a time for you to to see who can help me with this growth. But I'll go back to the example that I gave. We're in a country where having a tax compliance certificate is very, very important. Having your trading license is very, very important. So if you're going to go for a tender, if you're going to get business from government or even big corporates, they require you to have these compliance certificates.
Yes.
It helps for you to have your books in order. It helps for you to have your taxes paid on time, and for you to have your tax compliance certificate. So I would say you need to start it from the beginning. So you don't need many consultants at the beginning, but the basics like bookkeeping, the basics like understanding how to allocate your finances, expenditure, because not all the money that comes to you is your profit. For you to allocate money that runs the business, you need that from the very beginning. When you grow and it's time for you to expand, open another store, then you need people to tell you this is the reason, based on some study, this is the areas you need to go to, and based on some research. So then you need further consultants at that point. So I'd say at the beginning, you need the basics of consultants. If you're not an accountant, you need an accountant on board. And as you grow, then you need further consultants to help you with your market allocation.
Judith, that aspect of you being a smaller business would also mean that even in your expenditure, in your expansion strategy as well, you got to factor in a proper costs. It's what you mentioned when we were studying that while smaller businesses in the country view consultancy as somebody who's going to walk in, do something little and walk out. Talk to me about what a smaller business especially, would benefit from your consultancy. There's that journey that I'm walking with you. And why do I need to spend on that?
Yeah, I like that question because that's exactly why consultants exist.
Yes.
The reason why we're in this market, I would say same as Kamuzu, is because we identify a need. And working within businesses ourselves, whether that's big or small, we've seen that the challenge that these businesses have is at the point of growth or at the point that they need to restructure in order to tap into markets that they find challenges. So for example, with Kamuzu's tailoring example, you find that this tailor has mastered the art completely. They're very good at what they do. And so they've already identified customers within their market. They've already made some money. But then when they often try to maybe get new customers or maybe make even more revenue for growth, then they don't know how to do that.
Yes.
And that's not a fault of their own because they lack those core competencies. And so what we do is we step in and we offer this kind of support to them. So you find us talking about strategy for growth. You find us talking about finance for growth, so strategic finance. So start looking at whatever they have currently. So often small businesses don't even have books. Like even Kamuzu highlighted, it's very hard for you to find a small business with their books in order. So you even start with as little as you have. So a finance person would come in and have a look at what you have. If you have income statements, if you don't, if you have maybe just a regular profit and loss, so that's what they take and they work with it. So they show you where the gaps are and they guide you through how you need to actually get to success. So we, in a sense, come into the business and work together with the owner or the leaders to be able to chart a way forward. And we do it together so that at least it's sustainable going forward.
Judith, well, we've spoken to a couple of smaller business owners and they're saying, well, as a smaller business owner looking to expand, if I bring somebody in, any consultancy service, is that I want to get more from them within that period, that I want to work with them as opposed to getting in more people who are coming in to take more money out of the smaller business to do the functions that a consultancy could do. Is that also a responsibility that you're playing for smaller businesses within the economy?
I would say yes, because like we've mentioned, the challenge is the CapEx that comes with specific maybe skill sets. And for a business that's trying to scale, they're not necessarily looking to hire a CEO or a COO. They obviously cannot afford that. So it's to see how we can meet them at their need. So definitely do less with more. So it's to see how we can, with our own competencies, step into the business and see how we can even support, say, 20% of an increase in revenue.
Yes.
What within the processes we could already start optimizing. Sometimes you often find it's even within the culture of the business. So the way that they're doing how they're doing is actually stalling their growth. And so when you're coming into a business, you're looking at all facets. And to Kamuzu's point, you're not necessarily bringing in all these competencies as separate individuals. So if you're bringing on board someone who knows strategy, then they're able to already pinpoint from your internal processes things that are an opportunity for growth, things that are a challenge, and they're able to show you how to work with what you have to be able to access it.
Kamuzu, a smaller business is small in every sense. That's why they would even actually call you in and then ask you, how do we grow this business? How do we get more customers to get to use our service? So at that point of understanding is that some of them might call you so that you're the owner of that account, but they might not necessarily have that fund to actually pay you for those services. Is it possible to say that my responsibility as a consultancy is to grow with this business, because then you as Kamuzu will believe that whatever direction that you're driving this business is going to get you paid at the end of the day? Do those scenarios exist, Kamuzu?
Well, I'll give you a good example. Good question. I'll give you a good example. For the business that I do, the company that I work for is called Team Sky Media Services.
Yes.
And what we do is we do public relations and media liaison for our clients.
Yes.
So essentially, we really are reputation managers. There's no business that grows when you don't have a good reputation in the market.
Yes.
Or to your stakeholders. Okay. If Safaricom, the size of Safaricom needs consultants at Safaricom level, yeah, your small business also needs consultants, and I think the question you're asking me is, how do you bill? How do you look at a company and say this is how much you need to spend for this consultancy? I mean, for the tailor business that I spoke about, I will not charge you the same as if Safaricom called me today to do that business. So consultants are actually aware this is the kind of business that you're running, this is what you need, and I look at it and say this is the sort of resource that you can you need to spend for you to grow to another level. So as consultants, we are very aware to the kind of business that you're running, and if your business succeeds because as a consultant I stepped in and I was able to assist you, I'm very happy because I have a track record. I can say this tailor shop, was a small shop just the other day. When they brought me on board to work on their reputation and even to get them publicity,
yes,
they grew to three stores. As consultants, we are very happy. So small businesses should not think that having a consultant on board is expensive. When you come to me, we discuss what budget. I look at what budget you can work with, and I'm very sensitive to that I give you a figure that works for your business.
Yes. Come on, still on the same point. How much do you think that capital is a factor for smaller businesses being able or not being able to take up consultancy services within the economy?
I'll say this again. You need to spend money for you to make money.
Yes.
It's a saying that has been saying through generation. If your business, you started your business with 100,000 shillings, for example, it doesn't hurt you to say, I'll put 20% towards my business growth.
Yes.
And my business growth is identifying a consultant that can help me, with strategy, like Juditha said, with building a good reputation for my organization. That helps you to take your business to a level, because no business wants to be where they started. We all aspire for our businesses to be a Safaricom, to be a EABL, and to be a Family Bank, for instance. So if you say 100,000, I do 20% allocation towards my business growth, then you're on the right path. Work with percentages. First, of course, you say, I need to pay the rent for the premises where I'm working. I need to be able to say I have 2 employees. I need to be able to pay their salaries.
Yes.
I need to be able to pay for services like electricity and all. Then allocate a 20% towards your business growth, which is where you bring in a consultant.
Judith, you mentioned something very important at the start of this conversation this morning, that from where you're seated, then you would like to think that, well, interest in consultancy services, especially among smaller businesses within the economy, has shot up from where it was last year. What would you purport is the reason behind that increase in consultancy services in the country?
The biggest reason for that is uncertainty.
Yes.
Small businesses are often trying to address specific challenges at any point in time or at any point in their growth, and no one was prepared for COVID. And so when COVID happened, it literally knocked all small businesses off balance, because regardless of what industry you're in, COVID affected every single business. And I'd say from our experience, that's at the point at which we started to see incremental interest from SMEs, because they already have day-to-day challenges. So the tailor, for example, even without COVID, sometimes they get into seasonal challenges where they can't access as many customers as they did before. Maybe the kind of demand they had somehow has gone down. But then when COVID happened, it brought a whole new level of challenges for small businesses. So you move from figuring out what you do next week to figuring out what you do today. And so businesses that survived COVID right now are trying to figure out how to best thrive, because last year was about surviving.
Yes.
And this year they're trying to figure out now, how do we move forward? And so I've seen a lot more businesses interested in consulting, not just from the regular, maybe advertising space, technology space, but you'll find even businesses in agriculture, businesses in energy. There's so many more people trying to find out what consulting actually is about. And I think it's valid, because every single person or every single individual that's heading a business is this year at least trying to figure out how to do even more than last year. So really compensate for what you lost.
Yes, interesting you should say that, well, most businesses have run into that uncertainty point. And that when we talk about that, Judith, it means that, well, your turnover is not exactly what it used to be. And so there's this capital challenge that they want to address, because that's why they will even seek for consultancy services in the first place. So that begs the question, how have you changed yourself? Because your client is coming to you having have changed, even in terms of their capital adequacy needs. Have you been forced to change your approach as well when you are talking to them and trying to help them as well?
Yes. So what you find as you're in consulting, there are core elements you need to consider before you even venture into consulting.
Yes.
And one of them is flexibility. You need to have a team that is flexible around time and scope, and flexible around pay. Because when you're dealing with small businesses, some challenges you identify through the process is, number one, you start working with them to solve a particular problem or to address a specific scope. So for example, this person, maybe a mama mboga, is trying to now diversify her offering. So she wants to bring in fruit to accompany her vegetable. She wasn't doing fruit before. And so even as she's doing this, there are dynamics within the market that she hasn't identified. And so when a consultant is coming in, they're helping you to be able to do that. So if you're flexible, you might find that even as you're starting to talk to this person about getting in fruit to her store, you might find that her access to the market where she gets her produce, is much further than the market to the vegetables.
Yes.
And so it's working with this person to do checks and balances to identify where the opportunity actually is. Because at the end, you find that the scope actually even ends up changing, and now you're exploring other things away from just fruit. So it's just being flexible enough to be able to change based on the need. And then also when I talk about pay, you find that when you're working with small businesses, and what we do as Tactive is we offer value-based pricing. So to Kamuzu's point, businesses at different levels require different supports, and at the same time, they can only afford different support. And so when you're working with value-based pricing, you're looking at the business's stage of growth and you're looking at their revenue. So you're not just offering a blank invoice or just a blanket one that covers across board for industry, for size, for revenue, all of that. So you're trying to at least meet the customer at their own point of need. So if the business is small, you're more flexible in your payment terms as well. You're more flexible in the actual size of the engagement, so that at least even as they're growing, you yourself are growing. So you're growing a small business, but at the same time, you're growing a big business.
Yes.
To be even big.
Kamuzu,
Yeah.
I'll be very much interested to know exactly also how you have approached this change that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought within the economy at Team Sky Media Services. Have you had to shift your strategy in terms of how you're dealing with the businesses within the economy?
One of the business people that I truly admire, Jack Ma, said
Yes.
last year that 2020 was not about profits or turnover. 2020 was really about staying alive. If you stay alive, you've actually made a profit.
Yes.
So 2020 was harsh on everybody. We had to adjust as a business. We had to adjust on a number of things, For starters, we had to reduce the number of times or the hours that people worked in the office because there was a work from home order. We had running costs in the office that we needed to do, which we shifted to having our staff being able to still do their work. So you support them in that sense, being able to do their work at home and shifting those costs from the office to them at home. Now, going back to how we worked with our businesses, we were very sensitive. Our clients went through the same problem that the whole world was going through. We have clients in the banking sector. We had clients who were in hospitality, and hospitality was very hard hit.
Yes.
I didn't see how send an invoice to a client in hospitality, yet they've closed their office, their hotel for the past 6 months or so. So we are sensitive people. When you work with a business, you actually understand the business. When you live in times like COVID, you understand the struggle that everybody is going through. So whereas you'd be able to, we are charging you, if, for instance, $1 million shillings, we couldn't be able to charge you $1 million shillings for 2020. We'd sit down with the client and agree that maybe let's take a 40% pay cut. This is the deliverables that we needed, that we can do in these times. We had to work with our clients to make them understand that some of these things you can actually do them virtually. So we went as a business and looked at ways of how can each of our clients be able to do their business virtually? How can we add value, train them on how to do meetings online, how to engage marketplaces online? So we gave value and we cut on costs that we charge our clients based on what we could see and also based on the reality that the world was going through. So there's a lot of adjustment that we did as a business and also for our clients.
All right. Judith, let me come back to you as we clear this conversation this morning. Somebody's watching you this morning as a smaller business and they're wondering, what would be the way in now? Because I'm facing a lot of difficulties as a smaller business within the economy as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Should I approach you this morning? What is going to be the place you're going to start from in trying to give them a solution on how to crack this uncertainty that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought to the economy?
Okay, that's a good question. So first, if they're even trying to access us as a business, we are accessible online. I guess now the world is becoming more digital, so you can literally find any consultant online. So for Tactive specifically, we do have online presence, social media. We have our website, we have our regular email, info@tactive.consulting, which is actually something I check on regularly myself. So they can reach us in that way. They can also call us. We do have our hotline, so to speak. It's just a regular Safaricom number. You can call. I can share that with you. But then that's just the point of entry. So what happens is once they've reached us, then we're able to have a sort of needs assessment. That's what we like to call it, because now we have a meeting with them and understand exactly what the challenge is that they're trying to solve. So go through what their internal challenges are, go through what maybe opportunities there is externally, and then see how we can work together. And at that point, we also determine, based on where the business is, no matter how small or big, how we can even engage in terms of the length of the engagement, in terms of even the size of the invoice. And so every single engagement is going to be different. But in the sense that these small businesses are looking for tactive consulting specifically, we're accessible online and offline at Ikigai.
Pretty much. Judith Mwangangi, co-founder Tactive Consulting. Let me cross over to Kamuzu Banda. Somebody's watching you this morning and you're telling them, wow, come, let's work together. But now there's this shift, the COVID-19 pandemic. Where you gonna start from?
I'll tell you what, and this is quite interesting.
Yes.
That last year there's a business that reached out to us online. We engaged them online. We were able to come up with a solution of the problem they were facing online. Up until today, we have not met physically.
Wow.
This is just the reality of how business is conducted nowadays. And I'm sure by the time they came to our website, they looked at the kind of people that we've worked with, they see the kind of work that we've done. They had confidence in what we are doing.
Yes.
And one of the things that we do is we deliver for our clients all the way. And that client, I'm sure next time we'll be able to bring them on board and say how I met this business online and we've never actually physically met, and we've delivered for them. So like Judy said, we are also reachable online, teamskymedia.com. You can always reach us on phone as well, 0737-859-690. I don't know if I'm advertising, but I'm just sharing this. We are available on a digital platform, on Twitter, on Facebook, and this particular client I'm talking about got us on Facebook, and we engaged, And if you must physically visit us, we are at Deikyo Plaza off Ngong Road. We can make an appointment and make sure we do social distancing and have a conversation. So first point of call is get us online. Be like this smart client who reached us online, and we engaged and we gave them solutions, and we've never met till today.
Pretty much talk about the good side of the coronavirus pandemic. Judith Mwangangi, co-founder Tactive Consulting, and Kamuzu Banda, Chief Operations Officer, Team Sky Media Services. Thank you very much for you two taking your time to speak to Metropole TV's Business AM this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting us.
All right, on that note, we take a short break here on Business AM. Once we come back, your economic review.